What if you could run your entire consulting firm in 1 hour per week and have the confidence that it will grow and thrive without your hands-on day-to-day input? I know that thought might be a stretch for you, particularly if you've been struggling to break through a revenue plateau that you've been stuck at for some time, and you're currently working harder than you want, just trying to keep everything going. But in this video, I'm going to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the exact shifts that took Helene from working 70-hour weeks in her 7-person business to doubling her firm's revenue within 18 months, then being able to virtually take a full year off to look after her new baby. Not only did the business double its revenue, but they also achieved that growth with fewer staff. Give me 15 minutes and I'll show you the 4 critical shifts that move you from operator to orchestrator, the systematic approach that we use, and the metrics that matter most. I'll even share the Consulting Growth Code guidebook that we use with our consulting firm clients, so be sure to check that out in the description. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Greg Roworth and I specialise in helping consulting firm owners break through revenue plateaus and escape the founder dependency trap. I've worked with hundreds of owners of firms stuck below the $2 million revenue mark and who felt like prisoners in their own businesses. And this operator to orchestrator framework is how we systematically transform overwhelmed owners into strategic leaders. Before I show you the exact framework and walk you through Helene's transformation, there are 4 core principles you need to understand if you want to successfully make this shift from operator to orchestrator. Now, this is probably going to challenge everything you believe about growing your consulting firm. Most firm owners I meet think that the answer to growth is working harder, more prospecting calls, and more networking that requires longer hours, and maybe even taking on more client work personally. But here's what I've learned after working with consulting firms for over 20 years. The firms that scale aren't the ones with the owners working the hardest. They're the ones that are working most strategically. When Helene first came to me, she was putting in 70-hour weeks. She bought out her business partner and was essentially doing the work of 2 people: client acquisition, team management, finances, and being the lead consultant on major projects. Any of that sound familiar? She thought the solution was to work even harder, maybe hire someone junior to help out with some of the admin tasks, but basically it was all down to her. But working harder wasn't the problem. The problem was she was working on the wrong things. She was stuck in what I call the operator mindset, believing that her personal involvement in every aspect was what made the business successful. The reality, though, is that her personal involvement in everything was what was keeping the business small. So core principle number 1, strategy beats hustle. Every single hour you spend working in your business instead of on your business is keeping you trapped at your current level. The second core principle is that systems create freedom. This is where most consulting firms get it completely wrong. They think that systems are just for big corporations or that their work is too custom to systemize. I hear this all the time. But every client is different, or our work is highly specialized. Or how about this one, that a client who had a significant turnaround after telling me this: our success is based on our creativity. Systemizing everything would just stifle our creativity. Here's the truth. The most successful firms I work with have the most robust systems, not because they do cookie cutter work, but because systems free them up to do their highest value thinking and the most focus on strategic development. In Helene's case, her firm was doing mostly transactional work for existing clients, the kind of reactive, low-margin projects that keep you busy but don't build wealth. Why? Because they have no systematic way to attract and convert high-value strategic clients. They were dependent on getting work from referrals. They had no strategy for consistent client acquisition. Once we implemented a better strategy and a systematic approach to client attraction, we then moved on to project scoping, team accountability, and service delivery. Then something magical happened. The quality of their clients increased. The quality of their work improved. Their sales and their margins increased. And Helene finally had the mental space to think strategically about real growth. Remember, systems don't constrain creativity. They create the foundation for creativity to flourish at the highest levels. Core principle number 3 is measure what matters. Here's where I see most consulting firm owners going wrong with their metrics. They track revenue and productive hours like they're the only numbers that matter. Then they wonder why they're stuck on a revenue plateau with shrinking margins. Revenue is a lagging indicator. By the time you discover revenue problems, you've already been making strategic mistakes for months. What you need to track are the leading indicators that predict sustainable, profitable growth. In our work with Helene, we implemented what I call the orchestrator dashboard, a simple set of metrics that tracked not just revenue, but client lifetime value, project profitability, team utilization rates, and most importantly, the pipeline of high-value strategic engagements versus low-value transactional work. The shift in measurement was revolutionary. Instead of celebrating any revenue that came in the door, they started making strategic decisions about which opportunities to pursue and which to pass on. The result? Higher margins, better clients, and more predictable growth. Core principle number 4 is that team engagement drives results. This is a principle that surprised Helene the most. She thought that building systems and processes would make her team feel like they were just cogs in a machine. The opposite happened. When your team understands the strategy, knows their role contributes to the bigger picture, and has clear metrics for success, they become invested in outcomes, not just activities. Helene discovered that her team actually became more creative and proactive when they had clear frameworks to work within. As she put it, all of the team has grown and learned more about one another, which magnifies the level of trust between everyone. People are now contented and more motivated. The orchestrator mindset isn't about controlling everything. It's about creating an environment where your team can do their best work without needing your constant involvement. Now that you understand the 4 core principles, let me walk you through the exact 5-step process we use to transform Helene's consulting firm. Step number 1 is to complete a strategic assessment. Before you can become the orchestrator, you need to honestly assess where you're spending your time and what's actually driving results in your business. Most consulting firm owners think they know, but they're usually wrong. We start with an audit of the current processes and the way you operate in the business. This is where we probe into every corner of your business and find out what's working and what isn't. When Helene did this exercise, she discovered that 80% of her time was spent on operational and reactive tasks that others could handle, but she'd never previously systematically identified or transformed any of these responsibilities because she was so busy doing them herself. This assessment also includes analysing your client portfolio. We categorise every client relationship as either transactional, which means low margin reactive work, or strategic, which is more high margin consultative engagements. Most firms are shocked to discover that 70 to 80% of their revenue comes from low value transactional work that keeps them busy but doesn't build real wealth. Step 2 is to design your value creation system. This is where you shift from reactive to proactive. Instead of taking whatever work comes your way, You designed a systematic approach to attract and convert your ideal clients, those who need strategic, high-value engagements. For Helene, this meant moving away from their comfort zone of existing client relationships and transactional work. We created what I call a strategic client attraction system, a repeatable process for identifying, attracting, and converting high-value clients who needed the kind of strategic work that played to their strengths. This wasn't about working harder on business development. It was about working smarter by focusing only on attracting opportunities that met specific criteria: strategic scope, appropriate budget, and alignment with their core expertise. Step 3 is about implementing orchestrator metrics. Remember principle number 3, measure what matters. This is where we set up the dashboard that gives you real-time visibility into the health and trajectory of your business. Your orchestrator dashboard should track 5 key areas. Firstly, client quality metrics, the value-added metrics that happen for the client after you've done your work, and client satisfaction metrics. Secondly, financial health, your revenue, your margins, your cash flow predictability, team performance, utilization, engagement and development, operational efficiency, project delivery, and your team's productivity. And importantly, your growth pipeline. How many qualified prospects do you have coming through? And measuring your proposal win rates. All of these things are important, but the key is setting up these metrics so that your team owns them, not you. Each metric has an owner who's responsible for both tracking it and improving it. Step 4 is to build your leadership team. This is the step most consulting firm owners skip, and it's why they stay trapped as operators. You can't orchestrate a business by yourself. You need a small but capable leadership team that can execute your strategy without your constant involvement. For Helene, this meant identifying her highest performing team members and gradually transferring responsibility for key business functions. We didn't just dump responsibilities on them. We created clear accountability systems, regular check-ins and performance metrics so that everyone knew what success looked like. The result was a team that became more engaged and proactive because they had real ownership over outcomes, not just being busy doing tasks. Step 5 is having executive strategic reviews. The final step is implementing what I call strategic review cycles, regular sessions where you review metrics, assess progress, and make strategic adjustments. This is where you truly operate as an orchestrator rather than an operator. Instead of being pulled into every operational decision, you're focused on the strategic questions. Are we attracting the right clients? Are our margins improving? Is the team developing the capabilities we need for growth? What obstacles need to be removed? These reviews happen at 3 levels. Weekly operational reviews run by your team, monthly strategic reviews where you participate but don't lead, and quarterly planning sessions where you set direction for the next period. Let me share what happened when Helene implemented this framework, because the results speak for themselves. Within the first 12 months, revenue had increased by 30%, their best financial year ever. She'd reduced her personal working hours by 50%. They'd achieved higher profitability with fewer staff members, and team engagement and collaboration reached an all-time high. The business became significantly less dependent on Helene's personal involvement. But here's what surprised her most. She said, "We achieved this with fewer people, fewer senior people, and by simply doing things smarter." The transformation wasn't just financial. As Helene put it, the program gave us clarity, stronger processes, and a much more unified team. Looking back, the investment was small compared to the value it created for us. Within 18 months, they doubled their average monthly revenue and shifted from predominantly transactional work to high-value strategic engagements, the kind of work that's both more profitable and more fulfilling for the team. And this allowed Helene to step back to look after her new baby and just attend the weekly leadership meeting for an hour a week to keep her finger on the pulse. So here's what I want you to do right now. First, download the Consulting Growth Code Guidebook I've linked to in the description below. Complete the assessment I refer to in the book and honestly evaluate how well your firm is set up for growth, or not. Second, analyze your client portfolio. What percentage of your revenue comes from high-value strategic work versus low-margin transactional projects? Third, if you're serious about making the shift from operator to orchestrator, book a strategic consultation with me. We'll review your assessment results and create a customized 90-day roadmap for your specific situation. Remember, you didn't build your consulting firm to become a prisoner in it. The strategies that got you where you are now won't get you where you want to go. It's time to stop working harder on the same things and start working strategically on the right things. The choice is yours. Stay trapped as an operator working 70-hour weeks, or make the shift to orchestrator and build the strategic, scalable firm you originally envisioned. If you found this valuable, hit the like button, leave a comment about your biggest challenge as a consultancy firm owner, and make sure to subscribe for more videos on building and scaling your successful consulting practice. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.